This 2025 NASCAR Season Long Head-to-Head Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. The question today, Cody, is not who you would wreck for a championship, but who you would wreck to win a championship head-to-head. We're going to be discussing today. The books have graciously given us some championship season-long head-to-heads, and we are going to discuss our favorites on this one. And I don't know if we're going to make any official picks now, Cody, because it feels like it's kind of early, but maybe we will give you our early picks. That way you can start getting these in before the books pull them down.
Oh, I mean, what else are we doing here, Rod? Of course we're making picks. Come on now. We're we're making picks today.
No leans. Never, ever
Right,
leans
yeah.
for sure.
Don't even say the L word, Rod.
I can't say the L word anymore. Justin, this is why I love our listeners, because Justin Burton says, just checking in. How are you guys doing? Won't be able to watch live, but I'll watch it later. Seeing how y'all are doing this off season. This is people check in on us, Cody. We are loved, and it's fun to know that.
Yeah, it's like one big family. Gotta love that. So thank you, Justin. I am doing pretty well myself, getting all ready for Thanksgiving this weekend, of course. So ramping up for the holidays. It just means we're getting that much closer to the NASCAR season. Hope that you're doing good as well. I know he stays very busy and active with the sports betting, even in the off season, Rod, which is always good to see, of course.
Hey, there's plenty of stuff to bet on, even though NASCAR is not around. There is a little sport called football, and there's college guys that play it and pro guys that play it. But there's also fun up and down. There's biathlon, there's darts, there's pool, there's snooker, there's Australian rules football, which, by the way, the women's grand final is happening this Saturday. So go check that out if you like yourself some Aussie rules football. Tons of stuff to pay attention to when NASCAR is not in session. But Jessica also checking in saying, good afternoon, guys. Hello, Jessica. Wow. Mark checking in early saying Snowball Derby. That's crazy.
Yeah, Snowball Derby is next week. Rod, we did an episode last year with picks for the Snowball Derby. As I've got it penciled in on the calendar for next week, so I'm hoping we will get odds early on in the week and have a chance to talk about that because, I believe that is the first week in December there. And we did have odds last year, and we're able to play some pretty fun bets. I don't think we had a ton of great things or a ton of options, but we had good things to bet on and talk about. And you end up always with some NASCAR drivers and big names that we know in that race. So, either way, we'll be talking about the Snowball Derby coming up here soon.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, actually, to break that down because I'd never really paid attention to it as well. My brother checking in saying, laugh out loud. In some cases, it's quite literally one big family. Indeed, when your family does listen to this show.
I'm glad your family listens, Rod.
I don't know why, but my family enjoys the sound of my voice. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Have you ever heard your voice? Everybody enjoys the sound of your voice, Rod.
I don't know that I've heard it before in a way that made me say, yeah, I'd listen to that all day long, but I'm stuck with it. So I really have no other choice. always. But speaking of Thanksgiving, by the way, in honor of Thanksgiving, we're running a massive merch sale Thursday through Sunday this week. Everything is 25% off. All you got to do is use the promo code Black Friday, all one word. That's right, 25%. That's a quarter. That's 1/4 off of everything. Not off the merchandise itself, because you're not getting like a quarter, like an arm off of a sweater. No, it's just the price of it. So don't get that all mixed up. I know some of you guys need to explain. I'm just kidding. You don't. Anyways, make sure you pick up some of your favorite merch. Like there's Racing Gambling Podcast stuff out there that's fantastic. There's coffee mugs. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. I love my coffee mug, by the way. It's the right size for a nice heaping warm cup of coffee. So get yours as well. Use promo code Black Friday to get 25% off of that while supplies last. Well, Cody, there is stuff that's been going on in the news. There was actually one big announcement today. As we say hello to Brian, I hope you all jumped on that Logano win total. It's 2.5 now. Holy cow, Brian. See?
Okay.
What happens?
Out here moving lines. That'll happen.
That'll happen. Speaking of moving on, your boy, Dean Thompson, no longer going to be in the
I
five.
think that nobody was surprised by this after he took out 6 Tricon trucks in the one foul swing with 2 races to go. Everybody, I think, saw the writing on the wall. But yes, Dean Thompson moving on, Rod. And he's moving on to make way for Tony Bredinger. She's going to drive the number 5 truck full-time for Tricon next season. That's a pretty exciting announcement there. She's obviously been racing in the ARCA series for a while now, in addition to tons of other things. And she's got some really great partners as well. She's a model on the side, right? So she's in the SI swimsuit issue this year. She's the first
driver
since Danica Patrick was in it. So she'll be in that, and she's got to deal with Victoria's Secret, which we've seen on her cars and trucks in the past as well. And then Raising Cane's. I don't know if you've been to a Raising Cane's lately, Rod. Fucking amazing chicken. It's great. But she's all over the place in those things. I mean, they've got stand-ups of her, and she's all over the signs and everything, which is great to see them embracing. So hopefully we'll continue to see those partners move along with her, but it'll be great to see her. And actually, as I'm looking at the announcement picture now, she does have Raising Cane's on the helmet, so and on her shirt as well. So I would imagine we'll continue to see them.
And Celsius too, by the way. Those commercials, fantastic too, for the Celsius commercials, because I just love the "give it to me all damn day." Like, and plus it's got AJ Allmendinger, so you gotta love that too. Brian saying Bredinger was actually decent in ARCA, and she did drive the one truck too for at Daytona. So.
Yeah, and she had a couple of runs in the one truck. I was actually at her first start in the truck series at Kansas Speedway. Not this past season, but back in 2023. And she's had a couple of pretty good runs in that for the few times that she was in the truck. So, excited to see that. Of course, we've talked before as dads of daughters. It's always exciting to be able to say, hey, look, there's a girl driving that car or that truck. And our daughters definitely like to follow along with that, as do we. So definitely wishing the best for her. And we know those Tricon trucks are pretty good. We saw Dean even get a few good finishes in that 5 truck. So, I'll be pretty excited to watch Tony this coming season.
Well, and the team that she's joining, I mean, it's Tricon, right? I mean, this is the elite now of the truck series. Even though we know that the Toyotas are fast, but it's been Tricon that's been putting the championship trophies on the table. So hopefully she'll be able to make a splash, and you will have fun watching that with Haley Deegan obviously going to Indy NXT. It's kind of sucks that we had to lose her, but it's good to see Tony in the truck series now.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be exciting. Another piece of news that came out last week, Rod, that we haven't had a chance to get to yet. JTG Doherty Racing is no more. It's now going to be Hayek Motorsports. Gordon Smith is taking over control of the team. He was already one of the minority owners of the team previously, but Tad and Jody Geschecter have sold their parts. They were the JTG part of the Doherty in there. Brad Doherty has remained a partner in the team, although his name has been dropped from the team with it being called Hayek Motorsports. So Hayek apparently is like so he owns a maritime company in Washington, but it's like some sort of boat term for speed, I guess. So yes, I was in the Navy, but no, I don't know that much about boats, Rod. So I was in the land part of the Navy, essentially a Marine. So I can't tell you too much about maritime stuff, but apparently Hayek is a term for speed and boats associated in there somehow. So obviously big change over there, losing Kroger, which actually I think it's sort of a weird deal because the guy, Jody and Tad Geschechter, they own a marketing company that was part of putting together all that deal. Well, they were part of the marketing company that took the deal to RFK, leaving the team. So sort of, I guess, a lot of moving pieces there, but interesting move for them. But that team being rebranded, and of course, we're going to see new partners on them as well, losing Kroger and all the partnering companies that go along with that.
I'm sure they'll find somewhere else to have money put into their affairs. So not really worried about that too much. If they've been a race team that long, I'm sure they've learned a thing or two. Nick Fortune checking in saying, good afternoon, Hot Rod and Sassy Cody. What are we betting on today? We're betting on some season long head-to-heads there, Nick. That's what we're discussing today. So
yeah, today and tomorrow, Rod. There is so many head-to-heads that we're not going to be able to get to all of them today. So we're going to have a part 1 and a part 2. Sadly for Brian, season long head-to-heads not available in Vegas. My goodness, what's the deal going on with that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Of all places, Vegas should have more options than anywhere else, right?
I feel like they should. Cleaning up one more time, Mark saying I'm betting on at least 5 trucks at plus 5,000 at Daytona. Don't care who they are. Well,
it's not really a bad, not a bad plan at all.
Like a stack the back type of a thing in DFS, right?
Don't hate that. One other piece of news, Rod, that we hadn't had a chance to get to yet. Todd Gilliland is leaving the number 38 car, but staying with the same team. He's going to jump over into the 34 car in the Love's travel stop Ford Mustang Dark Horse for 2025. Interesting because David Gilliland, if you remember back in the day, also drove the 34 Love's car. He actually drove the 38 car as well. So Todd has been in both car numbers that his dad has driven, or at least 2 of the car numbers. But yeah, he's moving over into the 34 section of things. They haven't really announced the other drivers yet. Noah Gragson, we know, is with the team. All the rumors are he's going to be in the 4 car, which would come along with that potential purchase of the SHR charter, assuming that that gets approved and all ironed out down the road. But no official announcement there. And then they still haven't even announced their 3rd driver, which, again, all signs point to being Zane Smith likely, which we would assume he would then go into the 38 car. But the only one that is confirmed so far is Gilliland moving to the 34, replacing McDowell, who, of course, left to go to the 7 car.
This is
chairs moved around here around.
Oh, and
see where everybody sits down at the end of the day.
It's no surprise, honestly, right? That this is they would put him in the main 34 and then kind of go where we're not for the 38.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, they've really proved that he's kind of their number one guy, right? They let McDowell go, who'd kind of been their main man, and Gilliland is the first driver in their Cup Series program to sign a multi-year deal. They've always previously been a year-by-year team, and even a guy like McDowell that was there for years had to re-sign a new contract every season and wasn't going to be for sure that he was going to get it until they got it done. But they've already locked Gilliland up for multiple years, so makes a lot of sense to slide him into sort of the main car. That 34 car has been the lead car there at Front Row for a long time, so it really lines up and makes a lot of sense.
Indeed. Hey, Laura checking in. Hey. John Little giving us the rock on sign.
Rock on.
Love to see all the regulars on this. It's like walking into Cheers where everybody knows our names and we can all have some fun. So, all right. Is that exhausted the news for the day?
For the day. I mean, there's a billion stories, right? There's a lot of other stuff we can get to, but I'm ready to make some picks, talk some betting. Let's do that.
I agree. Okay, let's do that. But let's first tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all of sports. You want NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, Formula One, and so much more. You can get it right there at Underdog Fantasy. Plus, you can use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Hey, listen, there is going to be a Formula One race this weekend in Lusail. I said it. And I'm going to use my underdog pick on wherever Max Verstappen is. I'm going to take the lower than on his position. It's probably going to be either third or 3.5 or 2.5, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm still taking the lower than. That dude's going to cruise about as much as he can, and there's a lot of people that have a lot to race for that are going to try to beat him in this race. So, give me the Max Verstappen lower than. In the meantime, while you're waiting, you can sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN.
Rod, feel like playing some Kyle Larson this weekend? USAC Racing is available on Underdog as well. They're racing Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time in Bakersfield. And Kyle Larson, 2.5 on the finishing position.
Ooh.
I mean, it's Kyle Larson, Rod. You got to take the better then, right?
I feel like if you don't, we're contractually obligated to take the better than anyway. So, yeah, I think
and we all know, greatest race car driver in the world. So, better than 2.5 on Larson. Throw that into your you'll build those Turkey Day NFL pick'ems early and talk on Larson there as well.
Gobble, 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 gobble. That is turkey for let's get on to the head-to-heads. Caesars giving us some fantastic head-to-head season-long battles right now. If you're looking for them, go to the auto tab, click on the NASCAR Series Championship, and then go to schedule. That's where you'll find these because they don't really do you any favors on where to find them, but we search and scour for you so that we can. There are 8 of them, and we plan on going through all 8 of these in this episode. And then, I'm just saying this is content for content. We'll go through as many as we can. Yeah. Right. So then we'll do that. And then ESPN Bet has some more for us. And we'll go over those in part 2 of this and whatever we didn't get to in Caesars for the first one. So, all right, Cody, in the first matchup here that we're looking at, it gives us Ryan Blaney against Denny Hamlin.
So one second, Rod, just to set this up. So
go for it.
As far as clarity on how this works. So this is whoever finishes better in the season long standings. It's not a who wins more races, all of this stuff. Now, a couple of notes that go along with this, right, is if one of these drivers makes the playoffs, one of them doesn't, then the driver who made the playoffs automatically wins the head-to-head because they're guaranteed to finish better. The other part of that, let's say I'm going to use this first one as an example because you already gave them out. Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin. Let's say they both make the playoffs, Rod, and Denny Hamlin shockingly gets eliminated in the first round. Ryan Blaney makes it to the round of 8, and he gets eliminated there. That does not mean that Ryan Blaney finishes ahead of Denny Hamlin because if you watch the 5 through 16, they continue to run for points and they go back. Once you get bounced, you're thrown back into the pool and your points have been counted up still. And it's still a race for 5th place. So even if you're the last driver, you're the first driver that's eliminated in the round of 16, you were last in that first round, you could still finish 5th in the points at the end of the day. Now, of course, if one makes it to the championship 4 and the other doesn't, you're guaranteed to finish inside the top 4. But 5th through 16th is very open as far as can still change. So just because somebody makes it farther in the playoffs isn't necessarily a win because those points are going to be reset, assuming they get bounced out before the final 4. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that and remember that as you put that into your personal handicapping or in deciding to make which side you're going to pick on these bets.
All I see as you explain that is the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing where he's got the board and all the strings. That's all I saw.
Yeah. There's a lot of connecting all of the dots there, Rod, to get where we're at. But
I'm not good at connect the dots. It always looks so different to me. But all right. So with all that being said, the first matchup that Caesars is giving us, like I said, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, each set at -115. So the books really don't care how this ends. They just want you to bet on it. So I know where I lean. I know where Brian leans.
Whoa, don't say that, Rod. Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit.
You're not leaning anywhere. God, you're trying to get us reported corporate?
Screw it. I know where I am. Yeah.
Okay, Rod. The side you're picking, I believe, is going to be the same side I'm picking. It's the same side that Brian is picking. I think you got to go with Denny Hamlin. Or not Denny Hamlin, sorry.
Whoa,
sorry. Excuse me. You have to go with Ryan Blaney in this side of things, right? Because if you look at it, obviously Penske has got the playoffs figured out. They've won 3 titles in a row. Ryan Blaney has been first or second in 3 consecutive seasons, all 3 in this new car. Denny Hamlin, there's a lot of question marks now. You're getting Chris Gabehart. If you ask the Ty Gibbs fans, he's not a very good crew chief. Well, we'll see. maybe he and Denny click right away. But there's some big changes over there. Denny's getting older. At what point does he, sort of hit that age cliff and fall off? Father Time undefeated, Rod. If even Tom Brady couldn't beat Father Time, Denny Hamlin is not going to be able to either. But I think you have to go with Ryan Blaney in this one. And while I don't necessarily want to say I don't think it's close, because it can be, right? And Denny could win the championship, make the Final Four. Those things are very possible. We know how good of a driver he is. But I think that Ryan Blaney's clearly been better in the long run of the season, multiple years in a row. And you got to continue to ride that with Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, Hamlin has a short run season where he really needs a long run season, whereas Ryan Blaney continues to just make adjustments, improve his standings, improve his car week after week after week till when it really matters. And obviously that's at the very end of the season when you need to get yourself into the championship for. And if you just look at Denny's last 3 seasons, really overall, 5th, and 8th for Denny, the last 3 seasons for Blaney, 8th, 1st, 2nd. I mean, obviously, I know that the first year, that 8 and 5, it's not comparable. But like you said, with Ryan Blaney, the 1st, the 2nd, this is a thing for him to build on. Whereas Denny, it's either championship now or bust, because at this point in the season, or at this point in his career, there's really nothing left for him to prove other than to win a championship. And, I don't know, man. Time's running out for this guy. He's going to retire tomorrow, so he might as well hurry up and get this done.
Yeah, this is definitely, it's a fair matchup, right? And I think having a -115 on either side is a good number. And I did say that Blaney's finished 1st or 2nd in all 3 seasons in the championship. I meant in the championship race, 1st and 2nd the last 2 years, of course, in the actual title fight. So getting to Phoenix, he's been good there if he can get there for the Final Four as well. But yeah, I think that we're pretty much all on the side of Ryan Blaney here. Nick was asking, where are you finding your bets? Brian coming in clutch, giving it to him. But yes, these are the Caesars ones. Tomorrow we will move over to ESPN Bet and go through those for part 2, because very nicely of them to do so, Rod. They have got 6 different matchups that are not the same as Caesars has. So that makes it great. And Jessica saying she thinks that I got a hold of your drink, Rod, after my little slip up with Denny Hamlin instead of Ryan Blaney. I got so excited to pick Ryan Blaney that Denny Hamlin came out for some reason.
Well, it is Thanksgiving week, so maybe we're already tryptophaned out. Maybe we've already dipped into the turkey when we shouldn't have. And, maybe our minds are starting to run away with us a little bit. But yeah, definitely Ryan Blaney on this one. It's a difficult sell for Denny Hamlin for me, especially when the way he's going to do this is if he's going to win the championship. That's really how he's going to get it done. And I don't see him getting it done this year. So speaking of championship, Cody, even year Joey Logano against Tyler Reddick, your 2025 NASCAR champion, Tyler Reddick, -115 on either end of this. For these ones, it's even year.
2025 is what, Rod? That's an odd year, right? Odd year. So odd year Logano, not good. We know Brian's going against Logano. He's big on fading him. For me, this is Tyler Reddick as well. Obviously, it's so hard with Joey Logano, as we said it time and time again, just the hardest guy to figure out. But there really does seem to be something to this even an odd year. And like, how much is that actually just the case, or it just works out that way? It's always so strange. And like, same thing in baseball, right? It was your Giants where every other year, and Alabama had a stretch of that too, where it was every other year. And it's just, there's not really anything that actually makes sense about that other than it's a pattern and we like patterns. And Joey's just hard to predict. Reddick obviously showed this season, being the regular season champion, winning his way into the championship 4. Those were obviously great feats. Now he lost to Joey in the end, of course, because Joey wins the title. But I think Tyler. I think that Tyler Reddick, Rod, that's who I was talking about. I got to lay off the booze over here, I guess. A little early, but Tyler Reddick, I think he's here to stay, as I've talked about for quite some time. I think he's extremely talented. And Joey's always going to be a threat, but I think that Tyler's going to continue to move up that ladder, and I'm going to take his side on this head-to-head.
Joey Logano in 2024, obviously with the win. 2023, 12th place. 2022, 1st place. 2021, 8th place 2020, 3rd place 2019, 5th place 2018. He won 2017, 17th, 2016, 2nd. You want to know how real that's going back to 2016. That even year Joey Logano thing is 1,000% on point, because I guarantee you right now that his ceiling is probably going to be 5th place or somewhere in that vicinity for 2025. So whereas, like you said, Tyler Reddick, since he's been in the 45 team, 6th and 4th in the championship standings. I mean, he's going to probably make the championship for next year. He's probably going to contend for a championship. So yeah, I think Tyler Reddick in this instance, and this is just a straight fade of odd year Joey Logano.
Yeah, I do hate that Homestead Miami not in that round of 8 anymore, but I still do think that Reddick can continue to grow. Lawsuit questions, again, if you're just sort of tuning in, well, what about the lawsuit? I have absolutely no concern at all for that, Rod. It's going to get figured out one way or the other. One side's going to win. They're going to be fine with it. It's going to just continue on. They've already agreed to run as open cars. It's not going to be an issue. And it'll probably get resolved by the time we get to the championship anyways. People will forget about it, and it won't matter in the long run. I'm not using that in my look at this in any way, shape, or form.
Now, there's too many bright minds in both of those buildings to make this anything more than it needs to be, especially if it starts to detract from the racing on the track. And obviously NASCAR doesn't want that, so they'll get this cleaned up as quickly as humanly possible. So, I think we're both on the Tyler Reddick end of this. We're both on the Ryan Blaney end of his. So we have a few more to get to, but we also have to get to the chance to tell you about MyBookie. Can I tell you about MyBookie? I'd love to tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag has been with us from the beginning. They've been running on SGPN for years. You can check out their new and improved website, which, by the way, looks fantastic on mobile. So you definitely want to go check that out as well. Plus, you get props for every game and the live dealer casino. I love blackjack. I love poker. I love live dealer games, and MyBookie has got those for you as well. Plus, if you're into this, you can have new early cash out options. Start a parlay, get all those legs together, and then cash out before you lose. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. Looking at these F1 odds that we were trying to give you the other day, look, man, F1's coming up, and they're going to be in Qatar over the next couple of weeks, rather. This coming week. Holy cow, Rod, get your stuff together. I'm trying to pull it up, honestly, and this is what the frustrating part, because I had it and then I lost it, and now I'm going to have it again. So the winner, Lando Norris, is at plus 187. I don't like that so much. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Lewis Hamilton at plus 550 to win that. You can find that at MyBookie right now. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. It's mybookie.ag, promo code RACE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. Use that to predict where Derrick Henry was going to finish in his rushing totals. I was happy with the results. Now you can too. You can track your props now in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm has it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, Cody. So let's move on down the line. We have got Chris Buescher taking on Alex Bowman in this season-long head-to-head. This one's a little close. It's minus 115 on either end, but I think this is a little more of a discussion than either the other two were before it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at this past season, Bowman, of course, makes the playoffs, makes the round of 8. Then he doesn't make the round of 8. But Chris Buescher didn't even make the playoffs, Rod, although he was the closest finish in NASCAR history away from making the playoffs. Had he made the playoffs, who knows what he would have been able to do in there. I think that this one is definitely a close one. and you could really make a pretty good case for either side. Man, I've already said this, Rod, but I am going to be so invested in RFK this offseason. And starts right here. Give me Chris Buescher over Alex Bowman. I just think that, Bowman obviously is in the Hendrick car. That gives him somewhat of a leg up. But I think if you put these guys head to head, we sort of talked about this in the championship odds. Can you ever see Alex Bowman's picture as a champion? I don't see it, Rod. But Chris Buescher, I could sort of see that face as a champion for whatever reason. And I just think that his ceiling is higher, right? And I think that we can see more out of Chris Buescher. We've seen how versatile he is, being able to win at all different types of tracks and different styles. And we've seen that from Bowman too, less consistently. Of course, he's kind of a top 10 machine. He's going to just be solid every week, whereas Buescher's more hit or miss. But I do like Buescher, I think, in this head-to-head.
And, I'll take the Bowman side of this, though, honestly, because when you look at the equipment, obviously, we're talking about Hendrick versus RFK, and I get it. I know you're high on RFK this year, and I think there's reason to be optimistic for RFK doing well. We've seen a steady improvement. Now we're going to see another car in the stable. I mean, it's not without warrant. Let's put it that way. But I will say that if we're coming down to raw equipment, Hendrick always trumps anything. Their check always clears faster than every other team's in there, according to some. But no, look, for me.
But it's also the fourth Hendrick car against the 1 or 1A RFK car, right? So I think that.
But does that really make that much of a difference?
I think it does. I think, and to TK's point too, like Bowman has the bigger and better team, but Buescher's the better driver of the two. I think it's hard to argue that, because I think that Buescher is the better driver of them. And while Hendrick is the bigger, better team, sure, they've lost the championship to Ford 3 years in a row. They've it's not like they're just so far ahead of everyone that nobody else can keep up. And also, this isn't Kyle Larson or William Byron or even Chase Elliott. It's Alex Bowman, and he is sort of in a lower class than the other guys. And I mean, it's the facts, right? That is what it is. I don't think that anybody's going to argue that. And I think that puts him a lot closer to Buescher than, of course, the other three cars.
Okay, but let's take a look at some raw numbers then here. So there's a year difference between when they started. Bowman has a year up on Chris Buescher, but Bowman has 96 top 10 finishes in his career, 40 top 5s, and 8 wins. Chris Buescher, in a year less, has 70 top 10s, 25 top 5s, and 6 wins. So this year, obviously, you said Chris Buescher ended up finishing in 17th. Alex Bowman finished in 9th. Chris Buescher only has one finish inside of the top 10 at the end of the season. Other than that, 16, 25, 24, 20, 21, 19, 21, 7, and 17. Alex Bowman, not a whole hell of a lot better. 35 and 33 his first couple of seasons when he was first starting out. And then 16, 12, 6, 14, 16, 20, 9th. His average finishing position overall is 19.4, whereas Chris Buescher just a touch better at 18.8 over the course of his career. So,
but if you cut that down into next gen, like some of that is Chris Buescher at Roush, which Roush was not a very good team. Chris Buescher at RFK, while it's still the same team, it's a different team. Like, and we've seen the improvements from them. Chris Buescher has 6 wins, but almost all of those are over the last 2 seasons. I mean, at least 4 of them. I think he had the Pocono, or or all 5 of them are in the last 2 seasons.
They are.
The Pocono win a few years back at Front Row, the kind of fluke fog race, but otherwise it's all been here lately. And sure, Alex Bowman had that one big season where he won 3 or 4 races, but other than that, like Bowman's going to consistency you, and that's where he could get Buescher. Yes, but Buescher has such a higher ceiling, and he was literally this close, Rod, to being in the playoffs. And if he'd have got there, I think he does better than Bowman does. And yeah, I'm very much on the Buescher side of this.
I was literally this close to being a supermodel, but I'm not. So
you weren't,
that's
Rod. You were. It was at least this close.
well, okay, fine. I was literally that close.
That's
away.
twice as far away as Chris Buescher was to the playoffs this year.
Look, all I'm saying is that I think the point that you just made about consistency to death, I think that's where Bowman has this, because Bowman, I know he wants to win races. I get it. I know every driver out there wants to win races, but you name me a driver that probably is more content to just finish and be in the top 10 week after week after week, because that's the kind of guy that you're going to get out of. Well,
oh, you didn't actually want me to name a driver.
No, I didn't want you to. No, shh. No, but I'm taking the Bowman side of this, not because he drives the fabled 48, but because I feel like it's just.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
This is like Rod's Chargers pick that I tried to warn you against yesterday. He was putting in the Jim Harbaugh 49ers thing. I told you not to do it. Hopefully you listen to me and not Rod.
It looked good for 10 minutes. All right. It looked like it had legs for 10 minutes. And then Baltimore.
I could not live bet the Ravens fast enough. When the Chargers went up early, I was like, oh, +3. Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was not pretty, but I think again, this will be close. It'll be close at the end of the year. But I still think Alex Bowman will get the edge just like he did last year. And that he's done a few years before. So yeah, unfortunately, like I said, it's not gonna be pretty, but this is one that I'm surprised the books gave us this one, to be honest with you.
Well, I think this has actually been the most compelling one so far, and obviously we spent the most time on it. So I'm glad that they did.
Is Mark in Mississippi like on a time delay? Because his are showing up as like 5:17.
I know. Well, Mark is talking to us from the future. I don't know why, and then for whatever reason they go to the top of the comments so they don't pop up when they're in here. But
yeah. Well, so Mark in Mississippi says bet the rant on Buescher.
Yes,
Buescher
that's pretty much that's what you should take from it.
Yeah.
And Bowman, Bowman's first 2 seasons were that 23 Dr. Pepper car. Like those were horrible too before he went into the 88 to replace Dale Jr. and sort of moved on from that point. And like we've seen the Alex Bowman. Well, I don't know if you have him pulled up still right in front of you, but he had one season where he won, I think, 4 or 5 races, and you're like, okay, what do we have here? And then you haven't really ever got that again. So
that was 2020 where he won 4 races, had 8 top 5s, 16 top 10s.
But how much did that being the COVID year? A lot of things were different. You were sort of going back to back at tracks, stuff like that. So I don't know how much that made a difference. Mark also wants to know who wins the championship first, Denny Hamlin or the Dallas Cowboys. I'll take neither. Please.
I was going to say, is there a none option? None of the above? Because that's what I take right there. All right, let's move on to the next one. It is.
I think we're going to disagree on this one too, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, we probably will too. Ross Chastain. This is the first one where the books are actually going to take a side on this.
Yeah.
Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski. Ross Chastain juiced at -130. Brad Keselowski at even money +100. It's another RFK car, Cody. What are you doing? I know what you're doing.
What am I doing, Rod?
You're taking Brad Keselowski.
Of course,
and you're running with him.
Keselowski. Even money. Come on, -130 on a futures bet. Ugh, I mean, what are we doing anyways? But I think that you can make a pretty strong case for either side on this, and maybe even more so a stronger case than the Bowman over Buescher part of it, because Chastain, we've seen that ceiling, right? We've seen him get to the championship floor. We've seen him win the championship race just 2 seasons ago now, even though he wasn't in the title race there. But then again, this season, they don't make the playoffs either. Now, Brad didn't make the playoffs either. We just got done talking about RFK. But Brad did end up getting that win at Darlington. Or where did Brad win? Did Brad win at Darlington? Where did Brad win? Did Brad make the playoffs? Fuck. Why do I not? Oh, boy.
It's all right, Cody. It's very long.
Why don't I remember what just happened in this season, Rob?
Because we flushed. Look, when we flush it, we flush it for sure. Yeah, Brad did
make the playoffs because he won Darlington in the spring, I think, right? So, yeah, so Brad did make the playoffs, easily beat Ross Chastain by 6 spots this past season, and yet he's the underdog. Yeah, I don't, again, like my level of highness on RFK this coming season is extremely high, and Chastain, I think, will bounce back. They kind of figured some stuff out at the end of the season. They got that win at Kansas, even though the play. He was already or didn't make the playoffs. Playoffs have started, but does get a victory there. Sort of figure some stuff out. Trackhouse overall, though, looked like maybe they were lagging behind. I think they showed some concerning things. You look at a team like 2311, they get to the championship 4. Trackhouse, who's technically the more established team, being the Chip Ganassi team before that, kind of lagging off and struggling. Their main guy doesn't even make the playoffs. Of course, Suarez gets in by winning that close race at Atlanta, but doesn't do much once he gets in there. I don't see how the Keselowski side of this is the even money side. Even if they were both minus 115, I'd probably still lean Keselowski. So give me Brad Keselowski in this one.
So to me, I think Ross Chastain has the slight edge here. However, I do not advise laying minus 130 on a futures bet. Like we've talked about several times over. Again, minus 115, that's a little different. You can make moves on either end of that. But if you are talking value here, Cody, I will back your play on Brad Keselowski, because at even money, this is the better bet, because like you said, Brad Keselowski got it done this season. And it's almost the same thing that I just talked about with Alex Bowman. Brad Keselowski is going to be a consistently good driver over the course of the season. Ross Chastain, we saw it this year, peaks and valleys, man, like you would not believe. It was just such an up and down season for Ross Chastain. And that's what you could get with Ross Chastain. Like, you can get a good season, but you don't know if you can get a good season. With Brad Keselowski, at least you know that he will not try to swing the pendulum one side or the other. He just wants to get out, drive consistently, try to win races, where Ross Chastain's out there like balls to the wall every single race, which works until it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it's all about. So I think Ross Chastain can and probably should finish better than Brad Keselowski this season. I don't like the number, but I do like, just in case something happens and Brad Keselowski manages to consistent his way above Ross Chastain, that plus 100 is probably the best number you're going to get out of that.
Yeah, and part of my thing with RFK too is now we're going to be in year. Is this going to be year three, right? Of RFK iteration, and they're clearly building something over there. Actually, this will be year 4, won't it? Because they've been all 3 next gen seasons. Yeah, because there was the first year where Buescher got like 1 win at Bristol, and then the second year is where Buescher got all the wins, and then this year was sort of a slight regression potentially, but I think that we saw a lot of promising things to build on, and Brad finally broke the winless streak. He's a former champion. He knows how to get things done, and they're building a good program over there, and I think that's going to continue to climb. So give me Brad Keselowski, Rob.
Okay, me too, but only because of the number, but I still think Ross Chastain is going to finish better. If this were minus 115 either way, I would probably back Ross Chastain, but because of the number, I will back Brad Keselowski. All right. My Ty Gibbs amends tour continues on, as this next one is Ty Gibbs minus 120, Chase Briscoe minus 110, 2 JGR drivers next year.
Teammates,
head to head, yeah. And look, they finished back-to-back in the standings this season, with Briscoe getting a 1-spot advantage over Ty Gibbs at 14th and 15th. So, Cody, does history repeat itself, or does Ty Gibbs finish better this year than Chase Briscoe?
Well, Rod, will history repeat itself? It will not, because Ty Gibbs is going to get the better of this season. Look, you know how much I love Ty Gibbs. I've loved him for a while. This will be year 2.5, or where do we have for Ty? He wasn't a rookie, so he's already got 2.5 years under his belt. This is going to be his 3rd full season. Oh, look at Mark. He switched to the YouTube, Rod, just to get to now we can see his comments when they pop up. Shout out to you, Mark.
Elon was in the future. That's
why I think that's exactly what's happening. Mark is wait, is there any games going on right now? Who wins?
Yeah, who wins
the soccer match that's going on? Give us some scores here, Mark, so we can play some bets. But no, I'm on Ty Gibbs this year. You know, a lot of people are sort of high on Chase Briscoe. The number's pretty good. I'm excited to see what we can do in that car, and again, James, small part of it makes me just so hesitant on him. I do not love that. And I just think Ty, we're to that point where this is like he's got 100 races under his belt now. this is where guys, Kyle Larson's, the Chase Elliott's, start to win, and you start to see that elite equipment really break through for a guy like this. We know how fucking talented Ty Gibbs is. I think we're really going to see that this year. Mark says Tyrone in the playoffs. He's going to be in the playoffs because he's going to win at least 2 races, 3, 4 wins this season for Ty Gibbs, Rod. He is going to get the better of Chase Briscoe in his 1 win on the season. So give me Tyrone Gibbs over Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, because I have a lot of damage control to do with Ty Gibbs fans. I too will take Ty Gibbs in this one. And honestly, it's not because I mean, look, we know Chase Briscoe got him this year, but that was sort of like a swan song to SHR and really Chase just knowing that the writing was on the wall, that these guys were gone. Well, now he's in the 19 and he's in new surroundings. He's in a fast car. Obviously, we know JGR equipment is one of the best out there, but he's competing in the garage with 3 solid drivers now in Bell, Hamlin, and Gibbs that, the resources for him. I mean, not that to say that they don't distribute them all along, but he's not Martin Truex, right? He doesn't command the same sort of respect.
What is the pecking order at JGR now, Rod?
Bell, Gibbs, Hamlin. Because here's the thing.
No. What?
Well, look, Christopher Bell, obviously a perennial championship contender every single year, right? Hamlin, he's got 1 foot in 2311, 1 foot in Gibbs, and 1 foot out of
Hamlin is top 2 for sure. Potentially still top billing.
I don't know. I don't buy it. Because
I think it's a question of which of these guys is 3 and which is 4, because Bell clearly is like the guy right now. And I think you could slide Bell probably to number 1. I think it's 1A, 1B with Denny and Bell at the top. Then I think it's Gibbs. And I think that Briscoe is the 4th guy. And TK agreeing with you more, Rod. He's saying Bell, Gibbs, then Hamlin, then Briscoe. And if that's the way you're going to go, then this is clearly a Ty Gibbs side of things. Because, you're got Briscoe lagging that far behind. I think that, eventually, obviously, I think it's going to be Gibbs and then Bell, and then we'll figure out the other 2 cars at that point, because I think the talent of Gibbs eventually will outshine Bell, but Bell is an extremely talented driver, and I think is clearly one of the top, if not the top guy there now. But I think you got to keep Hamlin up there, just because Hamlin is a great race car driver. He's been around a long time, a veteran. He's been in that car full time for a long, long time. But I do have Gibbs higher in the pecking order over there than Briscoe. Briscoe's the new guy coming across from Ford. And just I think that his crew chief holds him back so much, or is going to hold him back so much, like we've seen for years. James Small holding back Martin Truex just with outlandish things. And I think that's going to continue for Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, new surroundings, new lingo, new everything. He's got to learn a whole new building. He's got a new set of keys. And how long has Denny Hamlin been in the number 11 car for FedEx? I was working
2000 well, let's see. I think he started part-time in 2004.
That's what I'm saying.
Full-time in 2005.
I was working for FedEx when Denny Hamlin moved to FedEx, and that was a lifetime ago. So
RIP to FedEx. They no longer exist, Rob.
No. So, all right. Anyways, that's our take. Ty Gibbs over Chase Briscoe. Move on to William Byron taking on. This is
an interesting one.
Yep. William Byron -120. Chase Elliott -110. William Byron getting the best of Chase Elliott this year. William Byron finishing 3rd. Chase Elliott finishing 7th. I mean, this is you want to talk about finding out which one's 1, 2, 3 in the Hendrick stable. This is a big discussion.
This is who's 2, who's 3, right? I think you could, depending on the day, go either way. Obviously, William Byron has definitely elevated himself here recently to be sort of more of a contender, and you go back to last season and just started the season so hot these last 2 years, but cooled off so much at the end. Now, despite that, makes the Final Four, right? Maybe questionable getting in there. It's, conversation for another day. But he does get to the Final Four, and so, that was better than the number 1 guy at Hendrick, which is, I think unarguably Kyle Larson at this point. But Mark has got Chase Elliott in his Final Four, which I do think that Elliott, I obviously I already gave him out as, where his number is. I think he's a good bet to be the champion. And I think that, again, another year removed from the leg injury, we've seen Chase Elliott be able to be just as good or better than what William Byron has been these last couple of seasons. And he still almost got him this year, even in a so-so season where he just was. You talk about consistent, seeing the fuck out of you. You asked earlier who's more consistent than Alex Bowman. Chase Elliott's the guy, right? So yeah, give me the Chase Elliott side of this. And he's the lower number at -110 compared to Byron's 120.
Well, okay, so at face value, I want to say Chase Elliott. We talked about him in the championship episode because we did say that this is probably going to be a year in which he tries to shake off injuries, shake off all kinds of crazy stuff that's gone on over the last couple of seasons for him. But William Byron over the last 3 seasons, 6th, 3rd, and 3rd in the championship standings. And then, Chase Elliott, 1st in 2020, 4th, 17th, 7th. It's tough. It's tough because I want to say Chase Elliott's going to get the better of William Byron, but I do think that at the end of the year, this is going to be so close like it was this year.
You'll be sweating this probably until at least the last 2 weeks of the season, I would imagine.
100% until the last couple of weeks, because I think this is going to come down to they're both going to make the championship. They're both going to make the playoffs, right? They probably will both make the round of 8.
Yeah, they'll be in the 8.
Yeah,
and then it'll be a question of which one of them gets into the final 4.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I at this early stage, I will pick William Byron, but I would not be surprised if Chase Elliott does this.
And this is sort of like a true coin toss. I mean, if you just like one guy better than the other, bet on that guy, because I don't think that there's really a bad pick in this situation. Like, it is really that close.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I think the book's giving William Byron the slight edge just sort of buys into my philosophy as it's got to be William Byron this early in the season, but talk to me after the round of 8 and we'll see if I still feel the same way by the end of it. So, all right. So you want Elliott, I want Byron. Let's move on to the second to last matchup here on Caesars. Noah Gragson taking on Zane Smith in this.
Taking on who, Rod?
Taking on Zane Smith.
Zane Smith? Zane Smith doesn't have a ride in the Cup Series, Rob.
Yeah, well, but apparently, according to this, he's actually the favorite to beat Noah Gragson.
Interesting.
So what does this mean for us? Does this mean we take Zane Smith blindly at -105 to finish better than Gragson? I mean,
we take Gragson and hope Zane Smith doesn't get a Cup ride, I think. No, I don't
well,
think. I think they would cancel it,
right?
obviously, at that point. But Zane Smith, obviously, like we just talked about at the top of the show, likely going to front row. Both these guys are going to be in front row cars. Now, the interesting thing is Zane Smith would likely be in the 38 replacing Todd Gilliland. Noah Gragson probably in the 4, a.k.a. the expansion car. So sort of the new team there. We saw Zane Smith sort of come on pretty strong at the end of the season last year. Unfortunately, a little too late for him. Although, just real quick on the Zane Smith aside, Rod, did you see the Trackhouse video? So like they thought that they were RFK, right? And everybody thinks it's cool now because RCR did it. Well, we got this big announcement. Oh, it's some sponsor nobody's ever heard of and doesn't care about. And then Trackhouse is like, be back here, 8:00, baby. Here we go. Yeah, and TK looking on the same thing. Bit of a mixed message. That's what I'm saying. So they're like, oh, this big announcement, right? And it's just like 4-minute video, and you're like waiting for the news to pop out. There's never any news. But Zane Smith was in the video 38 different times. I mean, it was ridiculous. It's like, wait, is he still a driver? I thought you terminated his multi-year contract. So quick aside on Zane Smith there. Obviously, he's not going to be racing for Trackhouse in the Cup Series. So I don't know. But again, assumed that he's going to be in a front row car. Sorry. Get back to that.
Yeah, and honestly, too, this moves the needle for me for Zane Smith. Now, we waited for Zane Smith, right? We waited for him to be so good all of last season and just never really came to fruition. 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s. His average finish, 23.2. Nick says
multiple votes for Noah here from Nick and Mark, both taking the Noah side. Now, Noah -125. Whereas Zane is only -105. If they're going to be in equal equipment, I guess it sort of depends where you think they are as drivers, where you think their career is heading. I think that it's pretty close. probably close enough that you take the minus 105 side of things just because they should be similar. Now, I think that I like Noah a little better as far as, Nick's saying sometimes it's the juices, or it's worth it to squeeze the juice, which could be the case here, because you just give these guys straight up head to head. I think I am going to lean on the Noah side. Veteran guy, been in the Cup Series a little longer, right? He's sort of gone through his stuff. But Zane, we saw in the Truck Series for a long time, be very competitive and win a lot of races as well. I think they're both very talented guys, just trying to find their spot. And maybe this is their new home, right? Maybe they'll be at FRM and continue to build that program for a while going forward. Do you have a side that you're I don't want to say leaning to, Rod, but a side that you're doing this to?
I have a side, and I do believe with everybody else that it's Noah in this instance, because I just feel like we don't even know if Zane's going to actually be that guy yet. And if he is, why wait this long? Does that mean they don't have confidence? Does that mean don't have a deal set yet? Like, what's waiting so long? We know Noah's going to be where he's at. We know they're already feeding him information,
Yeah, I mean, they are part of the lawsuit and don't technically have the charter. So
that's true too.
That could be what's holding up part of it. But
yeah.
But then too, well, yeah, they're both on the same team, so I don't think that really affects that at all either.
I don't think so either. But all right, well, yeah. So
like Mark's saying, Noah can win a super speedway race, but I would argue Zane might be better at super speedways. Like Zane won in the Truck Series a good bit on super speedways. So, and TK saying he likes Zane more, but he would take Noah on the bet. So there you go.
I mean, that's kind of what it is, right? It's like your
this
heart
is
one place, but your wallet says
this is one I probably just wouldn't bet. But again, if we're picking sides, I do like the Noah Gragson side. Even with the juice, I think that you take the more veteran guy in this case.
Yep, I agree. All right, last but not least on Caesars, a chop tempting Kyle Larson minus 120 and Christopher Bell minus 110 in the red corner. Kyle Larson, the best driver in the world, juiced up at 120. And the other corner, the most underrated and probably least respected driver in media terms, Christopher Bell at minus 110. Well, Cody, I feel like I know what the world's going to say to this one, but can Kyle Larson beat Christopher Bell?
What is the world going to say to this one, Rod? The world's going to say Kyle Larson, right?
Well, because Christopher Bell gets ignored, right? Every other cameras go toward Kyle Larson when Christopher Bell's in the room too. So he's like, hey guys, I'm right here. And they're like, oh, look, Kyle Larson. So,
Yeah. So what I would say here, I think Bell has obviously proved, I mean, he's literally Austin Dillon and Ross Chastain blocking people for William Byron away from being in 3 consecutive Final Fours, right? So that alone is very impressive. He is the more consistent guy. We know Larson can be so good, but so inconsistent. Bell has some inconsistency in him as well, but it's much less to the degree of Larson. You have to consider the fact that it is the Final Four at Phoenix, a short flat track. Bell's very good at, and I was big on Bell going into the Phoenix weekend. Unfortunately, he didn't really show up. So I think all of those things you can look at in Bell's box and say, okay, he checks a lot of boxes, but sliding out of the other corner, Rod is the greatest race car driver in the world right now. It might be tough to bet Kyle Larson to win the championship right now at his number. We've sort of talked about that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not really worth it. If you want to find a way to bet on Kyle Larson future, it's probably just taking him head to head against whoever they'll give you. And in this case, they're giving you Christopher Bell is who they're giving you, Rod.
See, even you forgot who they were up
even
against.
I forgot who they're. But it's Kyle Larson. He's still the greatest driver. And Christopher Bell is up there, right? His talent level is very good. He's in a great car. We just talked about him being potentially the number 1 guy. And I think really we sort of agreed he is the number 1 guy at JGR. But it's still Kyle Larson, minus 120 to minus 110. Not that big of a difference. Give me Kyle Larson. Mark also in Mississippi saying whoever beats who at Chili Bowl wins the bet. Hopefully we could get some Chili Bowl odds. And like Kyle Larson v. Christopher Bell head to head to Chili Bowl. How does everybody not have a bet one way or the other on that? Which, by the way, shout out to Joe Gibbs for allowing his drivers to race dirt again. That could be the secret key that really unlocks Christopher Bell. Right? You get him out there racing like Kyle Larson all the time, getting more racing. These guys say it helps them a lot, even though it doesn't translate one for one from these dirt tracks to the Cup Series. You unlock that racing guy that's just buried down in Christopher Bell. Could be a scary thing.
Could be a scary thing. However, I don't think it's scary enough to top Kyle Larson, even though it happened this season. Christopher Bell did beat Kyle Larson by 1 spot in the championship standings. I still believe that Kyle Larson is a far superior driver, and at the end of the year will get it done. Minus 120 still doesn't make me feel all that great about laying a futures. I'm sure there's other ways. We could even bet him on the Chili Bowl and I win right away.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, I think that, again, I would rather have this for Kyle Larson than a championship ticket, because he doesn't have to beat Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott or Ty Gibbs or Tyler Reddick. He just has to beat one other guy, and he still is the best. Like, and I think let's not lose sight of that. And that's no dig on Christopher Bell. It's no dig on anybody else. I just think if you're getting head-to-heads for Kyle Larson, that's maybe where to target at a decent number like a minus 120. Because it is still Kyle fucking Larson. Like, and that's, I think, don't lose sight of that.
Of course, we will not, because he is the world's greatest driver for a reason. All right, we made it down the slate, Cody. We were gonna,
just at that hour mark. We made it through all 8. Oh, yes. Now we got to come back tomorrow and do it all again, Rod, with a different set of head-to-heads that ESPN Bet is offering. So again, these ones were all over on Caesars. So if you want to place any of those bets now, go over to Caesars in the auto tab. It's under the championship odds. You click on championship, go to scheduled there, and they have the head-to-heads listed for you. Best of luck to you. We'll be back tomorrow, Rod, for part 2. Going over to ESPN Bet for their matchups there. And yeah, plenty of future stuff to continue to talk about as the off-season chugs along, Rod. 82 days till the Daytona 500. 68 days till the Clash of the Coliseum. But who's counting anyways?
We don't count on this show, because that's not what people want to hear. They don't want to hear counting. They want to hear picks, Cody. So that's how we all go.
Well,
all right,
back with more picks tomorrow, Rod. So yeah, in the meantime, follow me over on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. If you want some racing to bet on this weekend, F1 is racing, baby, in Qatar, like you mentioned earlier during that underdog read. We had an episode of the F1 Gambling Podcast earlier this week. Be in your NASCAR feed there. Go back and listen to that. Get those bets placed. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Indeed, yes. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's my first touchdown picks, and some actual prop picks too for the Thanksgiving Day feasts over there in the bio. And then, of course, I will be tackling the Formula One DraftKings DFS side of the world. So check that out as well. And then convince me to either go on Blue Sky or not. I don't know. I'm debating on whether or not. So you can hit me up on Twitter to tell me to move and go to another platform. I'm over
on Yellow Sky, Rod. So check me out over there.
I like to be on dark skies. So that's the dark web version of anything. All right. We'll see you tomorrow with the ESPN head-to-head matchups. Until then, all my identity is stolen. You don't know me. Let's go racing and let it ride.
Another piece of